welcome. Okay, so welcome back to series 2 of the Passionate Pioneer podcast with today's guest, Annelise PESA. Hi.
Hello, Beth. Thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome. Obviously, so for the people watching, I'm Beth. Yes, I'm the Passionate Pioneer, and I'm obsessed with empowering women to design a life fueled by passion and purpose. This podcast is more than just a hangout. It's a springboard to break free from limitations and design the life you deserve. So let's get started. So my guest today, Annelise, has an interesting background, being Italian by birth, but having lived in England for 27 years, she feels like a native Brit without losing her Italian heritage. She is a former international financial lawyer whose life changed when she started to seek out work that was more fulfilling and a greater source of happiness. Earning diplomas in a variety of NLP, positive psychology, and trauma-informed coaching, she now specialises in psychometric tools to support professionals and lawyers in maximising their impact as leaders and helping them to advance their careers in the private industry. Wow, that's quite a story, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I certainly can't say that I got bored so far. Some people would argue maybe I could have been a bit steadier, but I'm happy the way it all worked out.
Well, we all have interesting journeys. One of the questions I always ask my guests is, what initially sparked your passion? Was it always something that you wanted to pursue this dream, or was it a journey of discovery? It sounds like it was a journey of discovery for you, which is normally the answer. Tell me a little bit about that.
It was a journey of discovery, but I've always wanted, since my passion when I was a teenager was to be a psychologist. I really wanted to be a psychologist. And then because my mom was a lawyer and I come from a very traditional Italian family. My dad is a doctor. And not that psychology is a great profession, but they were like, oh, why don't you become either a doctor or a lawyer? And so I thought at 18, I wasn't really able to think for myself. And I thought, okay, if other people and loads of people were saying, oh, Lord, be a lawyer, then I just followed what, the majority of people thought it was great to do. And I don't regret it. I had a wonderful career as a lawyer. I worked incredibly hard. I really worked, and I studied really hard, and I work incredibly hard.
Right.
So, but, I worked for the best law firm in the world, and I was head of Morgan Stanley Legal for 10 years, and I did amazing financial transactions that were on the Financial Times and the Italian Financial Times, and I work with the best mind. So I can't say I regret it at all, but in my heart, I really always been sort of like a very introspective, reflective, and very sort of like a person that it's very focused on internal world rather than external, and how it impacts the external world.
Well, I think, I think that's a story I've heard many times, Annelise. Annelise, is the story that, we went down the traditional route because, our parents and our peers, we said, oh, for example, you said, I want to be a psychologist. And they were like, well, maybe you could take a more traditional route and, be a doctor or, or a lawyer rather than a psychologist, because maybe a psychologist was a bit woo, if I can say that, maybe, it
was 30 years, like,
that
now,
time
40,
in that era.
35 years ago it was.
Right, yeah. Now psychologist is just normal, the spirituality is the woo, which is me, right? Which is because I'm a spiritual life coach. So I bringing the life coaching with the spirituality, which is very woo. Well, not so much, but it's getting better. But those days, yeah, psychologist, maybe you could just be a doctor instead, or a
that's right. Exactly.
So you went down the traditional route, but you said you always had in your mind that you wanted to go on that journey, that in well, how did you explain it? The internal psychological, you're obviously interested in people's emotions and psyche and that kind of thing. How did you always just think about that as you were being a lawyer? Did
because
it
I
ever
was so
come?
busy.
No.
Yeah, I was so busy that I didn't think about it. I was just really focused on working really hard and coming at the end of the day alive. And it was so, it was so, and also in those times, there was no working from home, there was no working remotely. You had to go to the office, you had to travel a lot. At the beginning, we didn't even have, like phones, right? At the very beginning. So it was pretty hard. But then I started to think about, a different career when I started to experience some issues with becoming a mom, because I was working so hard, and I really, my body was probably shut down, and I just spent 5 years struggling to have children, and without going into details, but I did some fertility treatment, and I had miscarriages, and it was really like heart-wrecking time. And then I started to, would say slow down a little bit and think, what am I doing? I'm just giving up everything, for just working 100 miles an hour. And I wasn't probably, it's not that you have to give up, working, but for me, I just think, at that point I was an all or nothing person. So, and I wasn't very good in saying no and managing, boundaries and things like this, all things that I've learned, in the last few years.
Right.
So in the end, I had a bit of a burnout, and then I finally, when I kind of started to slow down, I got pregnant with my first child at 40.
Right.
And then soon after with my second. And then I decided, I probably wanted to change life. And, I could have been still a lawyer, just slowing down. But I thought, why don't I just focus on what I'm passionate about, which has been sort of like suffocated in the last 20 years.
Right.
And also I felt it was actually a good journey of discovery for me, because we are the transformation that we do for our client. And I thought, if I invest in myself and I transform myself, I will be a catalyst for people change, which is really what I want.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's again, that's a familiar story. It's the burnout, and something is the catalyst. What I call this, like a spiritual turning point. It's something major, because for years you put everything on the back burner. It was your passion when you were younger, and then you were kind of talked out of it to go into a traditional route, and then years later it comes back to you. It's something that was always there.
Yeah.
And you were always thinking about it, but it just wasn't possible. And then there's the time where it's just like, everything came to a head.
Yeah.
Right. And then suddenly you said, right, I think this is it. It's now or never. Right.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, exactly.
you could have gone back to being a lawyer, but you were
absolutely.
this is the time now where I need to make that change and decide for myself what I really want. What brings me the what am I really passionate about? What's my purpose? I'm going to follow that now and start following my own intuition instead of other people's the pressure of peer pressure that you You had
Yeah.
for years, right?
Yes.
So that's, and again, we teach from our own experience,
Yes.
right?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I did embark in a journey of, I love what I do. So I collect qualification after qualification, but not because I need them. It's just because I love studying, this
Right.
subject. As you mentioned, I studied positive psychology, trauma-informed coaching, business coaching, stress management and resilience, facilitation of teams, agile team, you name it. And I could, if that was a job, it would be my perfect job to learn and learn and learn. But
Right.
we have to apply it as well. So yeah, so it's a journey of learning, but it's not just learning a concept, is actually it's a journey that comes from within. So it's really, really important if we want to really be catalysts for other people's change,
Yeah.
to see not just the theory, but how we interface with the world and with ourselves as well.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
yeah.
And I think the learning is just the learning journey, isn't it? And it becomes,
Yeah.
it's part of the passion. You don't, it doesn't feel like, it doesn't feel like you're studying. Oh gosh, I've got to study, because you're learning what you want. You're learning
Yeah.
about something that you love and you're passionate about. And that,
Yeah.
for me, because I've done the same. I've invested time and money and energy into different modalities and different coaches, different ways of being a coach,
Yeah.
learning my own way.
Yeah.
Right. Sometimes you have to learn lots of modalities to put something together that works for you, because, we're not cookie cutter coaches. Right, we have developed our own systems and our own methodologies because we've learned, and we have also life experience because we're a little older, right? So it's fantastic. So let me ask you, on your journey and your
Yeah.
um learning all of these different modalities, what role models or mentors did you have, Annalisa, for your for what you wanted to do and your passions?
Actually, one of the first person, at the beginning, I didn't have really a role model, but then a friend of mine introduced me to this guy. His name is Fabio, and he's a coach. And, you know, she introduced me to him, and I was really doubtful because leaving law, it's not done with a light heart. I mean, it's a great profession. It pays really well. You've got status, and, it can be also an interesting profession. So it's a little bit like when a relationship finished. When a relationship finished, there is always some grieving, So I
Right.
was struggling a little bit to say, shall I do this? Because I was also losing a lot, and I'm still thinking about my salary when I was at Morgan Stanley, which was fantastic.
Right.
Yeah, so this guy really did some coaching on me, and just being heard and being there and being able to be empowered. I didn't have someone that told me what to do, but I had someone that allowed me to make a decision, and that was very empowering.
Yeah.
And the decision, by definition, Beth, means, in Latin, decide. It's got the same suffix of homicide. It means to kill. So even if I took the decision and I was empowered to take the decision, I want to say to people that struggle to make a decision, it's not easy, because decision means to cut something.
Yeah.
So you still grieve when you let it go.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what it is,
Yeah.
even if, whatever it is, you grieve it. So it's not like, oh, you wake up in the morning, you think, I am going to do this, and the rest doesn't matter, So he was a little bit of a role model because he's mature and is someone that I really respect. And So he's been a little bit of my mentor at the beginning of my journey, and I'm still in touch with him, and I think he's a great person. Yeah. So he
I
was
think very, very good. I mean, I just think that, yeah, when I was starting this journey as a coach,
yeah.
I did the same. I understand you looked at Morgan and Stanley and you were like, oh my
Yeah.
God, there goes my salary. There goes,
Yeah.
there goes, and I was living in the Caribbean. So I moved from the Caribbean and a very good, job, corporate job, that I'd worked in many years, and I was living in paradise, and I decided to leave, quit everything, and move to Europe,
Yeah.
and start again, basically. So it was,
Yeah.
I totally understand that.
Yeah. I mean,
But
another role model that I had at the very beginning of my career, and he is this really amazing coach, which is one of, the most renowned, is called Rich Litvin. And I went to some of his talk, and then I decided, to, hire him as a coach in a group setting because he's too expensive for one-to-one for me.
right,
But, I worked with him on a group setting, and he really modeled confidence and growth and the word serving your client, which is different from pleasing. And I
right,
really liked is the fact that he helps people, but he's got boundaries, and he's quite he's got this way of coaching, which is, I wouldn't, like, he's quite profound, but at the same time, there is no bullshit, and there is no like pleasing the client,
right.
and I really like that kind of straightforward, deep coaching.
Right. Yeah, it's funny that you no, before I go down that road, I just wanted to say that, I think the role models and the mentors, actually it does tie in with what I wanted to say, is that when I first got my coach was a positive psychologist coach,
Okay.
and actually she does a lot more of that now, but I
Okay.
didn't realize that that's what I needed when I first started
Yeah.
as a
Yeah.
coach, because there were parts of me that were traumatized and needed to be healed
Yeah.
before I could grow and
Yeah.
expand and teach others. I was just thinking, oh, I can just coach what I know, and I'll do this certificate and this certificate and
No.
and band-aid everything. And of course, band-aiding everything is not good. So so actually I did the reverse.
Yeah.
Instead of doing the positive psychology later, it actually came to me first by default, which was fantastic. So I got to
Yeah.
work on myself, which was not very nice, but it was a
Yeah.
good experience, a
Yeah.
great experience to really dig deep and understand,
Yeah.
and then understand that it's 80% of our mindset,
Yeah.
of which, and then 20%
Absolutely.
is the action.
Yeah.
And also it's who you surround yourself with. When
Absolutely.
you're
Yeah.
talking about role models and mentors and your support
Yes.
network, it's actually look who is around you. Look at your friendships, look at your relationships, look
Yeah.
at the role models in your life. Are they good? Are they supportive? Are they, I surrounded myself with very high level coaches, and I'm
Yeah.
guessing you
Yeah.
obviously do the same, right? You're like,
Yeah.
well, I can't afford him, but I can afford him in a group setting.
Yes.
You
Yes.
wanted
Yeah.
to be
But
in
then
his
I
you wanted to
continued
be
with
in his
the,
life. That's how you
yeah,
wanted
yeah,
it to start,
absolutely.
right?
Yeah. But then I obviously worked, so this was at, at the very beginning of my career, but, in recent years, I had other coaches. I have a brilliant supervisor, Cristina Pellizzati from Italy, from north of Italy. She's incredible for supervision. And then I actually studied trauma-informed coaching as well as group coaching with an absolutely stunning, brilliant teacher, Joanna Lindenberg. She's
Okay.
from America, and I will continue also to work with her. I also worked with Nita and Ajit Navalka, which are also fantastic coaches. So I've always had coaches, and I changed a little bit, different styles. As you said, you need to kind of try different ones in order to, you know, and I had others as well. They were all pretty amazing. And I think, you know, it's absurd if a coach doesn't have a coach, you know, like you can't, you know, it's like a doctor doesn't get supervision from a senior doctor. It's
Right.
you can't do that. So all these people, they've had a really massive impact on me, you know, either at the beginning or during my career, or, you know, in the last 3 years, you know, like in the case of Joanna.
Yeah. I also, you know, and also I just think it's amazing because, you know, it opened up having a coach and having this doing this group work, as I'm sure you experienced as well. You know, you network with other
Yeah.
coaches
Oh,
and
yeah.
other people that are all learning, and you're all on this learning curve together,
Yeah.
right? And so
Yeah.
you expand your network, and then you speak to, and then this podcast, you see, this podcast is amazing to me, Annelise, because it brings me so much joy for you to be able to tell your stories. And when I first started it, I was like, maybe I'll just start it and I'll just say if I can find a few women just to talk to who left their corporate careers and, you know, followed their passions. And it just exploded. And I'm just, you know, and then their friends, you know, they're like, oh, Beth, this is amazing. And then their friends told their friends, and, you know, and people were listening, and I was getting this great feedback, and, you know, I was booked out. And the same has happened with series 2. And there's just this amazing network of women supporting women, which is really lovely, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. No, I agree with you. When I did the courses with Rich or with Ajit and Anita and Joanna recently, like the women, the coaches that were on the course were just incredible, deep women. I just look, I would, if I could be on courses all the time, I would. I will probably resign at some point, because I really, you know, like I would say that sometimes it could be quite lonely to work for yourself.
Yeah.
You know, and yeah, so, but it's good to have contact with other people, even online, and sometimes also in person. I think it's really, really important.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes, yeah, I'd agree with that. We've talked a little bit about the leap of faith that you took. Obviously, you had that big moment, that big decision. What other, you know, what significant doubts or fears do you think you had when you started this journey? Just for the women listening to this podcast, you know, because obviously we've all got that, haven't we? You know, I'm leaving paradise, I'm leaving my corporate job, I'm going into something completely new, you know, at the age of 40, in my early 40s, you know, you were the same, you know, you were about 40. And so you know, we're not 20 years old. When you're 20 years old, it's easier to make those life-changing decisions.
It is. Yeah,
So
absolutely.
what big doubts or fears did you have?
Many. Will this sustain me financially?
Right.
How quick can it happen? Will I be good at it? Will I regret it? Will people consider me less because I'm a coach and not a lawyer? Would I be happier? You know, it's so many questions.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, will I be good at this?
Yeah.
It's the good enough, isn't it? Am I gonna be good enough at this, right? Will people like me? Will I still have this? Because you've built this reputation in another career.
Yeah.
And then you're having to start again. It's very scary, isn't it? It's a big leap of faith.
Oh yeah, and I had 2 small children.
Right.
And then actually at, you know, the beginning of my career, I also had and that's quite hard for me to talk about it, but I guess now it's 10 years ago, so I can talk about it. So I had 2 small children, I changed career, and also I had breast cancer.
Okay, right.
And yeah, so it all came at once, you know, like beautiful things as well, but obviously the cancer not so beautiful. And it was quite hard to, you know, sort my career in the middle of a diagnosis that could have possibly wiped me out of this
Right.
planet, you know, with two small children. So it was incredibly difficult. It was, yeah, very, very
Yeah.
difficult.
So you're going through some life-changing moments and you're having to make life-changing decisions at the same time. That's normally, you know, it is normally how things happen though, isn't it? All at once. You know, sometimes the universe works in mysterious ways and they just pound you with things to
Yeah,
force you to go into a different direction.
yeah,
You know, maybe you
yeah,
were burnt out and you know you it was the wrong job for you. It was time, it was your time to
yeah,
change direction. And maybe if you hadn't, you wouldn't have got, you know, when we're working all the time, especially in a corporate career, we're burnt out,
yeah,
we're unhealthy. How
yeah,
many women have I spoken to that just, you know, that push themselves for the promotion and push
yeah,
themselves for,
yeah,
you know, to not to leave early and, you know, and made unhealthy decisions. And at some point that takes a toll on your body, doesn't it?
yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
So, you know, I think that sometimes we're forced into it, our body or the universe, whatever forces us into. This is stop doing this and let's go in a new direction, right?
yeah,
So, what do
yeah.
you think so on your journey, which is fascinating? Um, I know you said you're a bit of a learner and you like learning lots of new things. What do you think you're most proud of accomplishing? On your journey so far?
Professionally,
And for everything, I suppose, professionally and personally. Um, with what
yeah.
you're a big learner, you know, we never stop learning, and I love that you're on this. We're all on this big learning journey. But what do you think is the
I
proudest
mean,
moment?
my biggest achievement are my children. That's for sure.
Right,
Like, you know, for me, they're just something I can't even put into words what they mean to me. And when they were born and now, although they make me crazy at times. So for me, that is my biggest achievement, with no doubt. I guess other, you know, biggest achievement career-wise, I think I can be very proud of the career I had, you know, always, you know, gave 100% and reached incredible goals and had the courage to change, which it's also very difficult. And also in, you know, as a coach, I think there's been changes, profound change in people's life and career.
mm,
And I can see that, you know, the coaching that we did together had a massive impact. And I think that, you know, it's much more rewarding than the biggest bonus I could ever take. Or, you know, I mean, yesterday I went to the Center of Commercial Law Study at Queen Mary and Westfield College, where I did my master in banking and finance law 27 years ago. And
right.
yesterday I was a speaker and I was
Mm,
talking to postgraduate students about a career in law and what they need, you know, what skills they need to do, and what was my story. And I realized, well, I already knew, of course, because it's my mission,
right.
that what helped them most yesterday wasn't just a suggestion, you should be doing this, the training contract, and this and that, and this is the skills that you need, attention to details. But what they wrote to me, thanking me, was because I inspired them not to give up and to be resilient, to have a positive mindset, to have grit, and, you know, not taking a rejection as a reflection of their value,
Right.
you know. So to me, that is the biggest satisfaction. Even yesterday, as a lawyer became coach, so I call myself a legal coach,
Right.
really helping lawyers and professionals to develop themselves and have an authentic mark in their profession, following their aspiration, their talent, their desire. That to me is my mission. And also to have the intersection for senior lawyer between being well physically and mentally and being great at their job. And they need both to be there,
Right.
not one at the expense of the other.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not surprised they were inspired and empowered, because I think that that's, you know, that's what we do, right? That's why we are coaches. You know, you said one of your biggest accomplishments personally is your children. I totally get that.
Yeah.
I don't have children, I have cats. It's completely different. But maybe by design.
Beth, you know what? I can send you mine for sometimes, and you can experience.
Yeah, part-time, right? Part-time, no. But I totally get that, because it you know why we're empowering and inspiring women to, you know, to stand up and continue. And you do need grit, and you do need consistency, and you do need, you know, stamina, and don't give up, you know, don't give up, because I think that that's one thing that maybe we didn't have years ago, was just, you know, I'm going to use an old expression, it might sound really bad, put up, or shut up and put up, right? Shut up and put up with it, right?
Absolutely.
And just, you know, you should be happy with what you've got, and
Absolutely.
You know, and not want any more. And I think that we're completely different from that now. Thank goodness that is going, or it's gone. And we are, you know, we are crying, we are saying, yes, we want more. Yes, we deserve more. I'm worthy of more. And why shouldn't I? You know, I work hard, I'm consistent, I've got the grit, and, you know, and we encourage and empower and inspire. And, you know, law students, they've got a lot of work to do. I know. I've known law students. I've seen the books. But you know what they want is, they want that real experience. They want to talk to someone like you that's done it, and can say, can give them the down to earth advice to say, you know, it's hard work. Because no successful person will ever tell you that they didn't work hard. Don't believe that it's anything is an overnight success, because that's total bullshit. The overnight success takes 20 years at least.
I agree with you. I agree. This is a very, very true statement.
It's true, right? There's nothing like, and we're so and we've gone from that, you know, from having to work and spin our wheels, and you know, when I first started, I was going to the library to research stuff, you know, and now we've got everything at our fingertips. And I think that this, you know, we want that fast. We live in a world where everything's fast. You order something, you want it the next day, you want it in 2 hours, you get it. It's immediate, right? It's immediate. And sometimes things just take longer. And we come from the generation where we had to be patient, and we had to work, and we had to be consistent, and you know, and grind the wheels, and you know, but I think that it's grit, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, now times have changed. Like, as you said, you know, you click on Amazon and they deliver it 2 hours later. You order takeaway and it's with you in 15 minutes, and you can do everything. You know, you can connect with people over the world in 2 seconds. And so many of these things are amazing, as long as they don't jeopardize our capacity to understand that important things take time.
Life, I was going to say life, important things like life, something, so, you know, that you can't compare the two, you know, that some things take time, and you have to have patience and consistency, and grit and stamina, and the mindset comes into it, the positive psychology, and that's where people get disappointed and they get discouraged. Oh, it's not here. It's not here. Won't be here tomorrow morning. Why not?
That's why, you know, so many people that want to change profession, whether they want to become coaches or whatever they want to do, you know, you can't expect. I mean, I also have some friends that became, you know, to do some products and stuff, and they expect this product to be viral over internet and things. And I'm like, how can you? Because, you know, and I think also, like, I wonder whether so many sort of like parent at the moment, you know, they just concede everything to their kids, and they become their kids' best friend, and they just, and it's, I believe, and in this I'm a little bit more traditional, I think a parent needs to have also sort of like veil of authority for kids. And you know, kids need to understand that they need to earn things and they don't come immediately.
Right.
Because
It's
if
earning
they
the
don't do
value.
that,
It's the value, isn't it? Earning the value of things, right?
yeah,
Which, you know, if things come immediately, sometimes you don't really understand the meaning of the value of them.
no,
You take it for granted.
that's right. Absolutely. Yeah.
Very good. So let me ask you another question.
Mhm.
You talked about learning, the learning curve, and we're
Mhm.
basically always learning. But what are
Mhm.
some things that you're still learning about yourself and your goals?
Mm. That we never, life will always throw challenges at us. You know, we think, at some point everything will go smooth, you know. And yes, you probably become, you've got more tools to deal with things, you become wiser, but the challenge adjusts to that. So, you know, you've got some big challenge that you have to actually then expand yourself to the next conscious level and awareness level, you know, to face those challenges. So this is what I'm still learning, that it doesn't stop. It doesn't stop.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, it's beautiful as well. But, and then also that life can be bittersweet, that sometimes we can't have it all. And, you know,
Why not? What do you mean we can't have it all?
well, not at the same time, you know,
I'm
like,
just joking.
yeah, in the sense that, you know, like you can't live in 5 different countries at the same time. We can't, you know, have 10 partners, or like, you know, like we can't have, like, you know, I mean, I'm saying in general terms, I think we have to make choices in life,
Yes,
right?
absolutely, absolutely.
And we, you know, sometimes even in your direction, in your business, you have to decide, where am I going? You know, am I going this way or am I going that way? And yeah, it's a little bit like sliding doors. You know, there is so many possibilities. But I think I resolve this conflict by being in the flow, by being in the moment, and by being attuned to who I am, so that I follow, you know, what, you know, my instinct and life, the combination of the two, you know, your awareness and consciousness, as
Yes.
well as with life, you know, that you can't control everything. So yeah, you follow
Yeah, I
that.
love that. I love that answer, and I would agree with you. That's one thing I really learned, and I'm still continuously learning about myself, becoming more self-aware, and the moments where I've got the doubt or the fear or the negative self-talk, which is, you know, and it's just being self-aware and changing it,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's being more conscious, and treating every moment as a precious moment. You know, especially driving on the Italian roads, you know that, Annalisa, right? I'm like, I watch the idiots go past me at, like, you know, I don't know how many kilometers per hour, and I'm like, okay, you go, bye-bye. My life is precious.
I absolutely agree with you. I think this is probably one of the most underrated self-awareness work, which is to be, it's easy to say, but it's really hard to practice, to be
Yeah.
in the present moment
Yeah.
and be really grateful for what we're living in the present moment.
Right.
And we're, you know, our mind is by default projected functionally to the future because we think, oh, I want more. So we think about the future. I want more, which is good. Or we think about the past. Oh, why did I do that? Could have done better, and regret, and, you know, sort of like wondering.
Self-judgment.
Yeah. But I mean, these two things are important. And I'm not saying we shouldn't think about the past. You know, I'm not that kind of person say, just be in the present moment. Don't think about the future. Don't think about, no. No. I'm
Not possible.
saying,
We're human, right? It's not possible.
yeah, well, exactly. No, but I think you need to think about the future because you've got a plan. You've got to think about what you want. So yes, equally, you've got to learn from the past and reflect on the past. To me, the trick is not to spend too much time here or too much time here, but just being in the present, being conscious about where you're going and learn from the past. So be in these three sort of like phases and interchange them as and when it's necessary to do that. So yeah. I revolutionized the power of now of Eckhart Tolle, and I think
I love it. Love that book. Yes. Yeah.
No, what I want to say to Eckhart Tolle, which I saw live last November, actually, it was pretty amazing. He's a really amazing guy.
Right.
I would say, I agree with you. But we also need to look at the future, and we need to look at the past. We just don't have to be stuck in either of those.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
It's like any moment, any emotional moment. You know, everybody has a bad day, a bad moment. You know, it's a bad day does not make a bad month. A bad week does not make a bad year, right? Just have your moment, but don't unpack and live there and stay as the victim. Just be aware of it. Just go, God Almighty, that was a shit day, you know, and tomorrow's a new day. And I've put that behind me, right? And what happened there? Why did that happen? I wonder if we think about it. And so you can learn from it, like you said. But yeah, don't. But I just say don't unpack and live there, right? Because
no, absolutely,
you just stay in misery and self-judgment and yeah, it's so okay. So the self-awareness then would be probably one of the benefits, certainly that I found from following my passion and following my dreams. What other benefits have you gained, or what's an unexpected benefit that you've gained from pursuing your dreams?
I think I've learned much more, and this was by pursuing my dream, but also by life experience, being really feeling my humanity, like how we all, you know, we're all on the same boat. No one is going to get out alive from this life. And so to me, when I think about that, sometimes, you know, I have like, comparison freakouts. I see people on Instagram or Facebook, oh my God, you know, and then I think, this person is a human being, as much as I am. And they have their life challenges and difficulties, and I'm the same. So what I've learned is to have compassion for myself, for them, and just to feel as one, really. Like I have developed this capacity to look at every human being, however different they are from me, and feel that I'm in them and they are in me. And this is such a profound thing that has changed my life.
Right. I think that's, you know, probably all the training that you've done as well, in because I've got female entrepreneur friends, coaches that I've trained in NLP and done the positive psychology. And I think all of that brings you closer to the humanity side of life and thinking we are all one. My actions affect somebody else. It has a knock-on effect. You know, if I mess around with your karma, it's, you know, it's going to come back to me. It's going to affect, it has a ripple effect,
Yeah.
right?
Well, actually,
Um,
I forgot to mention, not because
tell me.
just because she's not a coach, but she was my positive psychology teacher, Sue Langley. I didn't mention her because I was thinking about coaches, and she's more like a trainer.
Right.
But she also was, you know, like I did my positive psychology diploma with her, as well as the strength profile with her. And I remember so many teaching from her, including the ripple effect. So she was saying, I'm teaching you guys, and you will all go and have ripple effect, and which will have ripple effect. And yeah, I hope all this ripple effect can have a positive influence on all this mess that is happening in the world at the moment, which is quite worrying.
Yeah. Well, yeah, this podcast is exactly that. You see, it has a ripple effect. So as I said, it's just, you know, then the women I interview, then they and other people, they see it, and then other people from them see it, and it just has this ripple effect, this knock-on effect, and that's fine. You know, I just want to inspire and empower women to take back control of their life, and you know, more and more women are having these moments, these, you know, I wouldn't say it's years ago probably would have said come to Jesus moments. It's nothing about Jesus, but it's a spiritual moment. It's something where something big has had an impact on your life.
Yeah.
It's usually some type of trauma, grief. Mine was my father. That, you know, you had you know, some issues with children. You know, it's some kind of, it could be a car accident. It's some type of trauma that pushes you in a different direction, and there's nothing wrong with it, but you've just got to have somebody on your side that says it's okay. Let's have a look at it and empower, like you talked about, empowerment, you know,
Yeah.
and having somebody that listens and doesn't
Yeah.
talk at you.
Yeah.
Right. So let me see. So what advice would you give to other women who are following their dreams, want to follow their dreams, or are going through this shall I, shan't I moment of oh my God, I don't know what I'm going to, what do I do? You know how it is, right? You're just stuck in that moment of shall I, shan't I?
Yeah. Well, first of all, be stuck in that moment. You know, sometimes we don't want to be uncomfortable. You know, we want to come to a decision straight away, but sometimes just being in that mess, it's a preparation for what's coming next. You know, like being in that sort of like transition state where there is a bit of a void, there is a bit of a, oh my God, who am I? What am I doing? You know, is this wrong or right? You know, it shouldn't last forever, of course, but, you know, embrace the chaos for, you know, the moment, because from there you can start sort of like finding some pearls of wisdom and some nugget of for your decision. And then I would say try. So once you, after the chaos, you need to make little steps. Okay, so I'm gonna try this. I am going, so don't be stuck in the, and embrace the chaos, but don't be stuck in it. After a while, start trying things. Okay, maybe I should start a little course. Maybe I should start, like I started with NLP, you know,
Right.
like I started with NLP. So I was just like, okay, let's try with this and, you know, see how it works. So dip your toes into the water. Don't splash into the water, but dip your toes, you know, and then your legs maybe, and see how it goes. If it's too cold, you can always come back. And I think,
I love that.
yeah, so that, and also, you know, if you decide to be there for the long journey, just be aware that it needs, as you said, you need times. You know, no one is an overnight success, and sometimes we see these successful people and you don't know what they've been through. They've been through, you know, so much. So yeah, so be patient, be inspired by other, but also know that that's your own journey. And remember that, you know, sometimes with this comparison trap, we always compare other people's Facebook with our back book. This is a phrase Rich Litvin used to say that, and I borrow that. And I think it's you know, really important to be inspired by others, but remember that you are unique and the journey is just yours.
Yeah, I really like that. That's really, really good advice. Yeah, just remember that the journey is yours. And what do you hope that your story will inspire in other women? What's the biggest? Well, we're all trying to make a bigger impact, aren't we? And I know that you feel proud and about the women that you coach. So what do you hope your story will inspire in other women?
To be certainly better and more courageous at what they do, to be reinventing themselves all the time, because it never stops. Even when they change career, maybe they change again later on, you know, you don't know. I think what I would say is to find meaning in their life, and pretty much everyone that has an interest from, you know, their heart and human behavior. I think we all should try to become who we really are.
Absolutely.
And that's what I would say, sort of like really try to become who you really are, which is really difficult.
Yeah, and I think that that's, you know, you're right about, you know, trying to find your tribe, and also, you know, doing it as a hobby first, dipping your toes rather than, you know, just try it first. And also find your tribe, find your network of people that are also doing the same thing, people that have similar interests, right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, very good.
But also be
Excellent.
authentic. I think I think the most difficult thing is to really unravel all the conditioning that we had in our life. And although we do live in a society and we have to respect, you know, the society and others and everything, but within that context, I think we should all, you know, find our really sort of like authentic voice in everything that we do.
Nice. Yeah, very good. Excellent. Okay. So a million thanks, Annalisa, for joining me today.
Thanks, Beth. It was such a pleasure. It was so good. It's yeah, I loved it. It's quite cathartic, actually.
Yes, isn't it?
Yeah.
Isn't it cathartic to tell your story?
Yeah,
Right.
it is. It
And
is.
thanks to our audience for hanging out with us and listening
Thank
today.
you.
We hope you find it inspiring and empowering. For more information on how to work with either of us, you can contact us on Messenger. I'm sure you can get hold of Annelise on Messenger, and you can get hold of me on our Messenger, and you can also find this on Spotify and YouTube
Thank you, Beth.
if you want to continue listening. So until next time, this is Beth signing off. Thanks again, Annalisa.
Thank you.